was sort of bad now. So I asked my family doctor about what I had now. I said, now doctor, Mr. MD, oh, can you tell me what's in me? That's a great song, also in G, C, and D. The version I was doing there is mostly derived from one of my favorite versions of that tune, which is from the Grateful Dead. And this lesson is 4A, and this lesson is about if your fingers hurt after you've been playing for a while on these chords, what should you do? I'm going to give you 3 pieces of advice about what to do. First one, you probably are pressing harder than you have to. Most new guitar players are learning for the first time, concentrating, thinking, and you wind up pushing really hard down with your left hand and your fingers onto the fretboard. In many cases, harder than you have to, and that causes pain in your fingertips. So if you could, when you're playing, think about trying to relax. Most things that we try to do in life are better when we're not tense. They come out smoother. So just take a deep breath, relax your left hand, just enough pressure to make the chord form. Relax your right hand, just enough pressure to vibrate the strings. And relax and breathe and just make it sound nice and musical without exerting any extra force on either the left hand or the right hand. That's not contributing directly to the music that you're trying to make. That's the first suggestion. As you're doing that, by the way, you are going to develop calluses on your fingertips. I play mostly electric nowadays, which has less of an effect on your fingertips, but I don't think you probably can see the calluses there. That's pretty standard for most guitar players, and that will happen, and that will also help with the pain because once the calluses are there, it sort of protects your fingertips. But really play as gently as possible, just enough pressure to get the chords out. The second recommendation is you can tune the guitar down. If the strings are looser, they are easier to play and they exert less force on your fingertips and they will hurt less. It's a temporary measure. You can't really do it forever because you're going to want your guitar in standard tuning when you play with other people. But it's a temporary measure that could help and get you over the hump and keep you practicing, because I don't want you to say, oh, I don't want to practice because my fingers hurt. I'm going to put into the description what the notes would be if you tune down a half step or a whole step. Either one of those will work and they'll make the guitar easier to play. And get your electronic tuner out and follow the instructions in the description, and you can lower the string notes temporarily while you're getting your fingers used to playing on the guitar. The third one is that guitars that are less expensive tend to be harder to play. So if you're starting out with a starter guitar, that's probably going to be the case. The one thing you can do if you want to stick with that guitar is bring it into a shop locally in your area and get a luthier to set it up. It's called a setup. It costs around $50. It will bring the guitar back into its original specs and make it easier to play, because basically the thing called the action they'll help you with, which is how far away the string is from the fretboard, and better built guitars have a lower action and it's basically easier to press them down. Also, a new set of strings will help. So get your guitar set up and let someone do that, and that'll make it easier to play. The last part of that is you may, if you are serious about continuing to play, think about upgrading your guitar. So I'm going to have a separate lesson. You know, you can spend $100 for a guitar, you can spend $500, you can spend $5,000 and beyond. But in the $500 range, you can get some really nice instruments that would serve you for a long time. So that'll be a separate lesson. But for now, don't press as hard if you don't have to. Think about tuning the guitar down a half step or a whole step with the instructions in the description, and take it to a luthier. It usually takes a couple of days and about $50, and they'll bring it back to you in a much more playable condition, especially if the instrument that you're playing hasn't been maintained in a while. I'll see you in lesson 4B.